What's up everyone, we're here today to bring you a brand new Rune Dragon guide for 2021. Rune Dragons can be unlocked after completing Dragon Slayer 2 and can be a pretty chill moneymaker, as well as being one of the most popular activities for alt accounts. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. Alright, let's start with why Rune Dragons. Rune Dragons are one of the highest GP per hour activities in the game, raking in a whopping 1 million to 1.2 million GP per hour, while also staying fairly AFK at higher levels. One of the best things about Rune Dragons is that they are guaranteed to drop one rune bar. That makes it pretty consistent, and when you add in its drop table that consists largely of rune items and dragon items, as well as a large selection of stackable items such as runes, dragon bolt tips, and noted herbs. Rune Dragons also have a handful of notable drops, like elite clues that drop at a 1 in 300 drop rate, and dragon limbs that drop at a 1 in 800 drop rate. They also drop dragon metal lumps at a 1 in 5000 drop rate, and the Draconic Visage that drops at a 1 in 8,000 drop rate. But I wouldn't count on seeing them unless you plan on camping here for quite some time. Now, like I mentioned before, the completion of Dragon Slayer 2 is required to fight the Rune Dragons. This is also the only hard requirement to get into the Lithgren Vault where the Rune Dragons are located. With that being said, unless you're a sweaty, top tier gamer, I would advise against fighting the Rune Dragons until you have the following recommended stats. First being 90 plus melee and HP. I don't recommend doing Rune Dragons until you have at least this. Due to their high defense and hit points, you will find yourself getting a much lower GP per hour rate than what is listed in this video. Next is 70 plus prayer for piety and protection prayers. This will greatly increase your kill speed and allow you to stay longer each trip. I also recommend not going to fight the Rune Dragons until you can afford a Dragon Hunter Lance, which I know is not doable for quite a few of you, so I will still be going over how to do this with a much more affordable setup. Alright, let's get into how to get to the Rune Dragons. First, you will want to get the Lithgren teleport added to your dig site pendant. To do this, you will need to go to the strange machine located north of the Rune Dragons inside the Lithgren Vault. Then, take the dig site pendant and use it on the strange machine. And that's it. You now have the teleport to the Lithgren Vault. Next, let's take a look at what we need to do to get to the entrance of the Rune Dragons. First, you're going to want to right click your dig site pendant, then click rub, and teleport to Lithgren. Once you're there, you want to go ahead and head north and climb down the staircase. After that, you want to enter the Broken Grandiose doors. And since you've already done the quest, you should be fairly familiar with where you're at. And then up here on the right is where the Rune Dragons are located. Next, let's talk about what to worry about when you're fighting Rune Dragons. They use all three attack styles when fighting them, so it's almost impossible to avoid taking damage. And with a max hit of 38, these guys can pack a punch. This is why full Justiciar armor is recommended, or high defensive melee gear like Torags or other Boros armors should be worn when fighting them. Like all other dragons in old school RuneScape, you'll need to bring some form of anti-dragon fire protection. I recommend using a dragon fire shield with an anti-fire potion to give you full dragon fire protection, as well as help you increase your defensive stats. Of course, you could also bring something like an Elysian Spirit Shield and a super anti-fire potion if you can afford it. But for the most of us, the Dragon Fire Shield will do just fine. You should also set your quick prayers to protect from magic and piety, since you will already have high defensive stats to melee and ranged attacks. With your tank setup, you will only need to worry about the Rune Dragon's magic attack. This is why we recommend Protect from Magic along with Piety, which will allow you to stay longer and increase kill speed. Lastly, they have two special attacks that you'll want to keep an eye out for. The first special attack, and most common one, is the Electric Bolt attack. This attack starts with the Rune Dragon throwing two small balls of electricity on the floor, which then do small but rapid damage if you don't move away. This attack is mostly mitigated by wearing insulated boots. The next attack is Life Leech, which is an augmented ranged attack that takes the effect of enchanted onyx bolts. This attack hits through protect from missiles and heals the dragon for whatever damage it does to you. Some of this damage can be mitigated by the full Justiciar set bonus, but will still heal the Rune Dragon for the full amount. Alright, now let's talk gear setups. First, we will start with the recommended gear setup. For this setup, you will need a Dragon Hunter Lance, full Justicure armor, a Dragonfire shield, insulated boots, a Berserker ring imbued, ferocious gloves, a Rada's blessing, and lastly, a fire cape. You could also bring an infernal cape or a max cape if you have them, but if you have either of those, I can't imagine why you would be watching this video. You should also bring a solid spec weapon like a Dragon Warhammer or a Brando's Godsword. Next, you want to bring along 3 prayer potions, along with a 2-dose divine super combat potion and a 2-dose anti-fire potion. I'll be using extended super anti-fires because that's what I have, but any anti-fire will work for this setup. You'll also want to bring a dig site pendant and house teleports if you have a max pool, but if not, any teleout will do. You also won't need to bring a dig site pendant if you have one in your POH. Lastly, you'll want to bring 10 to 20 sharks depending on your level. Next, let's talk our budget setup. I wouldn't recommend taking on rune dragons in this gear, but I definitely think it's doable. In this setup, you'll want to bring a Zamorakian Hasta as your main weapon. Also, you'll want to bring the highest melee tank gear possible. In this setup, we will be bringing Torags because of its affordability. You'll also still want to bring your insulated boots to help protect against the rune dragon special attack. Next, you'll want to bring a Nate'Zanat helm, glory amulet, combat bracelet, anti-dragonfire shield, Rada's blessing, and your best in slot cape. In this setup, the ring really doesn't matter, but you should bring something like a granite ring or ring of wealth, either is fine. The inventory is identical to the recommended setup besides a change in spec weapon. Also, upgrading your spec weapon to a BGS or upgrading your shield to a Dragon Fire shield are both cost effective upgrades to the setup shown on screen. Last thing we should talk about is gear progression. I highly recommend focusing on getting a Dragon Hunter Lance as soon as possible. You could always get a Dragon Fire shield before a Dragon Hunter Lance if you don't have enough to buy the lance outright. My next focus would be to go ahead and pick up a full Justicure armor set for its high defensive stats as well as its set bonus, which decreases the total damage you take from your enemy's attacks. Lastly, I would try to pick up a good spec weapon like a Dragon Warhammer or Dragon Claws. If you can't afford either of these, a BGS or a Dragon Dagger are good replacements. Now let's take a look at what the average Rune Dragon trip looks like. Alright guys, the moment we've all been waiting for. We're going to go ahead and take a look at what one trip looks like at Rune Dragons, and then we will be staying for 1 hour to see what kind of GP we can make in our recommended setup. With that being said, let's jump right into it. In my setup, I will not be bringing a dig site pendant because I have one hung in my POH. Teleport to Lithgren, and like in our video, head north and climb down the staircase. Enter the grandiose doors, and to your right will be the Rune Dragons. Let's go ahead and pot up, equip your Dragon Warhammer, turn on your quick prayers, and get ready your spec weapon. Your quick prayers should be set to piety and protect from magic. Alright, we're going to go ahead and kill a few of these Rune Dragons and get back to you when we're done with our trip. Don't know why I had to cut it so close, but just kind of wanted to show what you can achieve in one trip. We did kind of get lucky. We honestly only got, I think, 6 kills, but got quite a bit in loot. So let's check it out. We got over 267,000 GP. Normally you only get about 170,000 GP, so this is pretty awesome. Now we'll come back at the end of this and we'll go into what I made during the full hour of Rune Dragons. Alright guys, there it is, 1 hour of Rune Dragons in the bag. Let's finish off this kill, head over to the bank and see what we got. Alright guys, that's 1 hour of Rune Dragons done. We got 38 kills here, you could tell by the rune bars and dragon bones. We did spend a little over 300k in supplies, which I would say isn't bad considering our level. If we go into price check, 1.2 mil, almost 1.3 mil in that hour, as well as we did get obviously the elite clue, which we did, and we will be adding this in the price check. I just wanted to show what the price check was before we opened the casket. Alright, wish me luck. And nothing really. I mean, 200k, not bad. Does add pretty nicely to the price check at the end. 1.5 mil. So just at the top end, 1.2 mil of what we estimated for our GP per hour for this guide. And with that, we're going to wrap up this guide. Thanks again for watching, everyone. We greatly appreciate it. Please like and subscribe for more videos just like this. Not sure what the next video will be, but we'll keep you posted. See you later.